Right now, even historically bullish crypto traders are worried about another down leg. What do you see?
Well, look, Matt, since January, I've been pretty bearish of Bitcoin. I was, when it was 42, I was targeting 30. When it got to 30, I targeted 20. And when it got to 20, I kind of took profits, but then just last week re-entered a short trade with a target of 15. The one thing I do want to make clear is that I don't have really a fundamental view one way or the other on Bitcoin. I suppose looking at it as a percentage of gold's, the amount of above ground gold's value, is certainly one way to look at it. But I think, to my mind, the more abstract the fundamentals, the more important technical analysis is. And we do now have 10 years, a little bit more than 10 years of trading history, right? And so what really got me bearish was really, again, nothing to do with, a fundamentally bearish view or a fundamentally bullish view. It was simply the fact that longer term momentum was really starting to break in late January. And this one particular signal I was focused on, it had done this 3 times prior, and each time Bitcoin corrected 60 to 70% over the next anywhere from 4 to sort of 10-month period. And right now, it went from 42, which is when that signal developed in January. That would bring you down to about 15,000. But I actually think there's a chance.
And do you buy there? Do you buy there, Mike? I remember when it went from 1,000 to 75, and people said, this is the end. Then we went, of course, to 17,000. When we dropped from there to 3 grand, everyone said, this is the end. Then we went to 65,000. When we dropped from there to 20, you're saying 15. Do you get in there?
I'm not, I think I'll cross that bridge when we come to it. It depends how we get there and what's sort of happening, more broadly. But there is one important thing about this 20,000 level, big round number of 20,000, which is that if you remember a couple of years ago when we soared through 20,000 and we took out that 2017 high, and that kind of set the path to the lifetime highs of 60, 65, 66. That concurred with basically a lot of institutions coming around and saying, hey, we're taking Bitcoin seriously now. Like, we're making allocations, or at least considering making, significant allocations to Bitcoin or to its ilk. And I guess one of the problems I have right now, just in terms of flows coming into Bitcoin, is that what we've learned over the last year is that Bitcoin hasn't been uncorrelated. It shares a reasonably high correlation with the NASDAQ or the broad, other risk assets. And so I really question, since it hasn't demonstrated its ability to be uncorrelated, I question whether institutions are going to come in and say, hey, if it gets to 15 or gets to 17 or 18 or 12, whether they're going to rush back to committee and say, hey, here's a dip we can buy. Because the thesis back 3 years ago, I think, was, generally that, hey, this is an uncorrelated asset. It can be an inflation hedge. It's a,
well, let me hop in here. Speaking of uncorrelated assets, let's put this into context of the Federal Reserve here. It's all about rates at the moment. How do rates and crypto correlate or don't?
Well, I was just early this morning, if you look at the NASDAQ, that has a pretty clear correlation with rates, and Bitcoin has a pretty clear correlation with the NASDAQ here, right? And so I think if you've looked at a lot of stuff that really got inflated, post-COVID shock in the spring of 2020, with this massive, suppression of interest rates, massive dovish pivot from the Fed, you looked at ARKK, a lot of speculative tech stocks going to very, very aggressive levels. Well, Bitcoin was also part of that as well. And so I think it is going to be very vulnerable to Fed hawkishness. And the one issue is that because it's, again, I come back to this thing that it hasn't demonstrated its utility as an inflation hedge. So I question, if you really just need a levered play on the NASDAQ, well, there's a whole lot of ways to do that, right? And I think the question about how you really value Bitcoin at 15,000 or 10,000 is going to be really, really problematic. But
wait,
Kriti,
so
you're
Michael, if you are saying that it's not doing its job as a leverage play or even as an inflation hedge, then what do you actually do with Bitcoin? Do you just not buy it, or do you actively short it? We got about 30 seconds here.
Well, to answer your question succinctly, I'm short it, but again, I'm looking really at technicals here. I sort of sidestep the fundamental discussion because I don't think I'm honestly not sure really how to analyze the fundamentals of it. So I kind of just look at it. It's an important asset, but what's clear is that downward momentum from a longer term perspective is very bearish right now, and so I'm just kind of riding that trend.